Let me kick off. Welcome everyone to this series. We try to do at least one or two in a month, every on the Fridays, same time. More of learning sessions for everyone. Learn and more than networking, it's more of a learning session which we do for everyone. And the aim is to get learn from peers and industry of what's happening. So this is a very interesting topic for today, and we've got a awesome panelist here. Few rules here. Anybody, maybe we'll have first 30 minutes of discussions, and then we'll open up for questions. Anybody who wants to ask a question, please raise your hand, and I'll basically enable your voice and video from backend. So I have this magic admin powers right now, and I'll enable your voice and video so that you can ask question. For now, I'll hand over to Anurana, who is the moderator for today. And I'm also there on the call. So if you have any issues joining in, please reach out to Millie or me, and we'll help you out. Thank you, everyone, and over to Anurana.
Thanks, Ankur. Thanks, everybody, for making the time to be here. And a special thanks to our panelists here, Dennis, Prakash, and Nalin. I think a lot of them you all know, and they really don't need much introduction. But at the same time, we will definitely go through that for a quick bit, and I will turn it to them in quick order for a quick introduction. But I do see we have nearly 20 participants and more are joining. But good, it's a good Friday morning for everybody here. So I appreciate us getting together. It's as much for us to share and as much it is to learn. Each question, each comment, and each element of participation that we see is going to help us learn as well as contribute to each other. So that's the spirit of community with which the founding team of Suraksha Catalyst has set this up. And this is one of the first initiatives of our West chapter. While we don't hold that anybody else cannot join, we have panelists from across the US as well. And all are welcome, but we will continue to see how we can bring more such webinars in the future as well. So the topic, as you all probably have seen before, is AI. And AI, we've chosen to focus on how do we really navigate the threats that we are seeing in the whole AI uncertainty era, because it's changing so fast. We are all trying to adapt to it ourselves as companies, as individuals, and then we've got to be the people who are going to govern it, who are going to help manage it better for the companies that we work for. So that's the agenda. And I will start by asking the initial question to the panelists. And just as a request, as you open up, please also just do a quick introduction. And I will do a quick introduction myself as well, and then we'll quickly get to the questions. So I am Anurana Saluja. I head cybersecurity, privacy, and business continuity for Sutherland. Been here now 13 plus years on the West Coast, also active in supporting a lot of our new startups in technology and security across from US as well as in India, and happy to see how we can support any of the initiatives you all have. So the first question that I'm really posing to the panelists, and maybe we'll have Dennis go first if he's good with it, is from a threats perspective, right? We all have seen AI, pose both risks as well as opportunities, right? But what is the one threat or couple of threats that you may have seen which really intrigued you and which also gives you a perspective on how you are looking at threats, essentially? Dennis?
Yeah, thank you, Anurana. Absolutely. Pleasure to meet you all. My name is Dennis Joshua. I lead the cyber defense and managed security services for Inspira. We're based out of Dallas as well. I love this topic, because of specifically, and thanks to Anurana for actually the titling this way. uncertainty is definitely a new normal, right? Today, especially as we navigate through this AI era. And as a cyber defender, as someone who's leading a team as well, me and my team, one thing we can't assume is how do we really ensure like we can't assume that tomorrow's attack will be looking like yesterday's, right? Every day we keep changing, and what makes this era more uncertain is not just the volume of attacks itself, but the characteristics of the attack that has changed really the rules of game, right, in the AI space. Now, I know one of the common things that we see a lot, is in how AI has really scaled this whole automation. But as a part of our cyber defense space, one key characteristics that we track from our threat research is the whole adaptability piece, right? How AI can really adjust these tactics mid-attack, to really bypass the defenses, and we see a lot of that through continuous reinforcement learning. And one example that we've been recently looking at is a malware strain called lamehug, which is actually the first documented malware that used a LLM to generate really a system command almost in real time during an attack, right? Now, this is attributed back to a Russian state, also known Fancy Bear. It's a very standard way of how this malware strain was distributed via compromised accounts. But what really sets apart this strain is actually the use of open source LLM that was created by Alibaba Cloud. And the model that was originally intended for code generation and reasoning, eventually the malware used to dynamically create shell commands, right? Now, for me as a cyber defense, somebody who's continuously coming up with threat models, why is this concerning? Because we have seen traditionally a lot of POC in the space, malware strains that comes up that uses a lot of cloud AI models. But with this specific strain, I believe the attackers have taken it one step further, because the way how they have structured, instead of calling out on a cloud, they had a own AI model inside, right? It can read system logs, it can understand security events, it can change its behavior on the fly. So you can think of this as a malware with a built-in brain, right? And as this trend grows, I'm sure we are going to see a lot of attacks rely more on this on-device AI for making decisions on their own. And that throws away all our defenses, right? It's not static. The behavior is not fixed. Every infection looks different. So every victim could potentially have a different malware, making the decision more hardware. Kind of, we also saw that in prompt lock, which was another one, where the ransomware was able to think for itself, choosing whether to encrypt or to steal data depending on the content it finds, right? So this I would summarize it saying that this actually makes the threats more creative. It's not just anymore encrypting files and demanding Bitcoin. They're psychologically smart, and definitely uncertainty is inevitable in that space.
Thank you. Thanks, Dennis. I think that's really helpful. And if I may request you, Dennis, if you can just post the links to these web PCs, or at least the names of these specific malware, people can just learn from that and maybe research as well. That'll be really beneficial. And then you set the tone very correctly. So it's a very different way. We will need to deal with these things as practitioners, and we would love to come to that. So Prakash, would you like to share your perspective on the threats as well?
Yeah, first let me unmute. Hey, Anurana and team.
Hey.
So this is Prakash Kalaiah. I'm working as head of security for Enphase Energy. We are in solar tech business. Of course, solar is making a lot of noise around with the new government regulations. So just like, Dennis mentioned, AI is really a new threat. And also it's a new armor for both, defenders and attackers. And also I would like to use one of the example here, recently in one of the company, they had a bug bounty program, and, an AI agent won that bug bounty, program. So it was able to kind of find one of the best bug bounty gap in the application and it was awarded. So this is an AI automated, pen testing tool, which we can share later. So this shows, how far, AI has come when it comes to cybersecurity, like how we can really use it against and for, cybersecurity attacks. So one of the thing, also, which was given to us as a task is, how do we make developers' life easy, by using AI within the company. So I would like to bring up, one of the threats that maybe most of us are facing. It's called slap squatting. So what does it do is, it essentially, when you use LLM, it has a hallucination effect, and it can create some package names which don't even exist. And this is a gold mine for attackers. So they essentially use these package names and create, kind of publish and domains and packages in those names. And if developers are unaware of this, they can, download these packages, which might have, malicious content, obviously. So we can delve deep into this later, but that's what, I'm going to kind of focus on today. Yeah. Thanks, Anurana. Yeah.
Thank you, Prakash. So, and I think just as I was mentioning in our internal discussions as we were preparing for this session, I think we were saying that the whole scenario, the technology landscape in AI itself is changing so fast that it's becoming tough for us also to keep pace. Just when you thought you talked about LLM and security around that, then comes agentic AI, then comes, agent to agent protocols, and then it comes MCP servers. And we need to be ahead of these things and still be able to secure them. So that's the challenge. And I think you rightly brought up it's a different form of squatting, but the slab squatting is another area for us to kind of learn, understand. And this is just the beginning, like you rightly said. Thanks for highlighting that. Would you like to go next, Nalin, please?
Sure. Well, first off, thank you for the opportunity to talk about this wonderful topic. This is on everybody's mind, and understanding the threats and how well people are taking advantage of it to unfortunately, good way and the bad way is what we need to focus on, right? My name is Nalin Narayanam. I've been in the technology space for about a little more than 3 decades, working with a healthcare company as well, called AdaptHealth. We're a public company with with millions of patients that are actively being catered by us, and we're going to be expanding even more. Started off with them as a CISO, and now I'm their CIO. This topic is really important for us here and outside as well, right? I want to take a step back and get into the minds of the attackers or hackers. And we deal with them almost on a daily basis, right? We know that these guys are highly motivated people with a conviction. They just want to accomplish something. Some people are driven by money, and some people are driven by just pure bragging rights, right? And when we establish the baseline that these guys are already smart and already efficient, motivated people, the platform of AI is giving them even more advanced powers, right? I mean, they're, for all intents and purposes, they're cloning themselves. I mean, back in the days, they have to write everything, but now, to Dennis's point and what Prakash has already articulated, now they're taking it to the next level, i.e., the AI-powered attack automation, literally. And two, they're commoditizing this whole threat landscape. We'll chat more. I think Dennis has already hit on a couple of things in addition to what Dennis mentioned. We have the first also documented case of attackers using Claude completely from reconnaissance to malware creation to the payload delivery mechanism, and successfully exfiltrated the data, and that translated into other things, right? And Anurana, you also hit the other topic that I'm very closely watching, the whole MCP. Sorry, I don't know if it's Anurana or Prakash. MCP right now, if we don't pay attention, it is like, how do I put this? Like the SMTP in the initial days where there is no security. Anybody can come up and say, trust me, I am so-and-so, and everybody trusts. So that's the other area I think we have to watch very closely. Back to you, Anurana.
Thank you, Nalin. So I think we got a very diverse set of perspectives. If I look at it, while Dennis spoke about malware and he gave a few examples, and I didn't know about those, so it's good. And then Prakash brought up slop squatting, very interesting concept, picking up on the type of squatting, but taking it to where the DevOps itself gets compromised. And of course, Nalin's input on how this is giving a greater amount of power to the bad actors, then they can literally own a lot of the conversations that we may be having. So this is great to set the context for our threats perspective. Now I just want to bring in a little bit on individually how we are seeing uncertainty in our companies, right? For example. So I'll just take a lead off with one anecdote from my experience that I want to share. Basically, everybody in the company wants to be on the AI innovation journey in my company, right? And they have a mandate coming right from the CEO and chairman that we want to be, creating nirvana for our clients through AI, right? So everybody is very spirited and fully gung ho to, let's say, go ahead and do it. And we guys are the ones who have to sit and see, all right, firstly, we have to make sure that people come to us before they go ahead and start incorporating AI into solutions, right? Or start using them. Finance wants to use it to improve their efficiency. Business wants to use it to build in for solutions to take to the clients. So we are seeing a lot of uncertainty, and a lot of things are ambiguous as well. So that's what we are dealing with, ambiguity and uncertainty on both ends, right? So that's where I wanted to let the context of this topic as well. So with this, I want to turn it to our panelists, and maybe Prakash, you could go first this time to see how do you see uncertainty and ambiguity hitting you as a practitioner. And then the next portion, we will talk about what are the few things we are doing about it and what can we have, the practitioners take away. Prakash?
All right. Yeah. Thanks, Anurana. There is one fun fact I want to share here. My previous boss and, my mentor used to say, if we consider cyber attack as a business or a country, if you create all the cyber attackers and create a country, it will be like fourth or fifth largest economy in the world. So I'm saying this, it's what is AI being used and what is AI can do for a third or fourth largest economy in the world. So imagine such a big economy is being aided by AI, and that's what we are against. And it's their 24/7 job. That's another, favorite quote of my previous boss. For us, it's, day job, week job. Of course, today is Friday. You will start, seeing alarms go up, because of all the things we face at work. But for them, it's 24/7, fourth or fifth largest economy if you put all of them together. And this is what we are against. Just to, just a fun fact, what we are up against and how we should really be ready. Going back to what I was talking, this hallucination, it's proven that even a popular paid LLM engine can be like 5 to 6% hallucination. And if you take open source models, I think it goes up to 20 to 22%. And also, there was a recent test to show that, out of around 600,000 packages generated, there were like 200,000 unique hallucination packages, and they were repeated in the names. So this is kind of, very, very, concerning when you start using AI for, development purpose, where we are saying, or we are being asked to say, hey, how can you help AI to help our developers, really quickly develop code and do magic right in their hands. But it comes with its own threat. And this is what, as a practitioners, we need to address. And this is too very, heart of us, right? Because that's the starting point we are all trying to protect ourselves from, because till now we were protecting, what was developed by a human developer, like doing all these SaaS, DaaS, pen test, red teaming, SCA tools, bunch of these, technologies. But now you are adding AI to that, which will really scale up, all these threats. So that's what, this attack can be really, it's real. It's, kind of everybody has to address. And, and it's predictable. So that's what makes it very, very kind of easy for an attacker to kind of go and look at all these paid models or open source models and get to those package names and start publishing, so that they can go after developers who are using these packages. So maybe in the coming few minutes I can talk about what defensive mechanisms we are planning to use and we are using, and what companies should really think of.
Yeah. Why did you do that, Prakash? Why didn't you lead off with that? And I think we will switch request the other panelists as well to weigh in on the mitigation measures now, on what practitioners can look at.
Yeah, I think, thank you. I was waiting for others to talk about in detail about threats. So one best thing is, like this is where we need to really kind of govern AI usage, because, when AI usage came into practice, like everybody started using whatever is available. So this was very, very difficult as a company to really bring under, proper governance. And this is where we need to pay attention. Like, looking back a year or two, I can see myself, stopping or blocking entirely the usage of AI tools. But right now, it has totally changed, because we have learned how to govern them, how to put guardrails. So one of the best, way to do this is, like to protect against these kind of slop squatting is, use an approved and well developed and well-proven AI technology for developers. Because if you don't control that, within no time, teams can continue to use or start to use whatever AI tools they get access to, and it will no time we will be exposed to those kinds of attacks. The other one is enforcing policies of defenses, dependencies, and also enhancing your CI/CD pipeline itself. How do you secure with your approved and secure repositories, which will protect you against all these kinds of attacks? Because the more you do towards supply chain attack defenses, it will really help you preventing such kind of things. So again, you can use standard like sandboxing technologies, like post implementation techniques, dependency scanners, vulnerability scanners. So like you can use all these standard, like whatever we are using today, with enhanced capabilities to kind of defend against these kind of attacks. And the last one, again, we always talk about this, and this is everywhere. It's the human factor, like training developers and, making sure they are really aware, because, weakest chain, weakest link in the chain is the weakest strength of the chain, right? So we have to make sure, the developers are really aware of all of our policies, and, they get trained and they are following those policies to make sure they don't really cause problems by using which are not approved tools. So because if you have all these policies, I think, technical controls can work only so much. We all know that, the human element falls into your administrative control. So that's where, the human element has to be taken care, training, development, making sure, make them understand the risks of not following these policies.
Awesome.
But of course, the last one I would like to again highlight is, tooling and automation, not enough said on that, right? So you have to really focus on right kind of tooling. I don't want to talk about it because there are a lot of things going on in AI security tooling. There are a lot of vendors. I am looking at tons of tools, and we have rolled out some guardrails, but there are a lot of tools which can help you in AI code generation and governance. Yeah.
Awesome. Sounds good. I think you nailed it for a lot of the governance steps for that we should look at, Prakash. And I wanted to just quickly turn it to Nalin. I believe he has a little constraint on time. And Nalin, would you be able to share some of your experience as well as advice similar to what Prakash shared around governance and how you guys are looking at mitigating those threats and risks?
Yeah, in general, I think Prakash hit the nail on the governance point of view, right? Um, AI code generation has become quite normal because everybody is being challenged to be more productive, right? Um, like Prakash suggested, and more. I I do think we have to take a holistic approach of enforcing controls on what tools and what LLMs can be brought in, and how do you control the source code generation. If your supply chain, i.e., your code classes or objects are generated from um, hackers or other smart people's creations, your supply chain is completely broken. So this is where I think we have to get multiple checks and balances of is this code better? Is this code good? And the other thing we also want to keep in mind is we don't want to get into any legal issues, especially for the open source from the open source community. So that's the other area we have to be looking at, and increase your posture, like what you do from a overall cyber defense point of view.
Wonderful. Thanks, Nalin. So we've got some really important elements that we captured. Make approved LLMs and tools available, as Prakash highlighted, to developers. Otherwise, they will go ahead and use what comes their way and what access they can get. Train developers well, get to tools and automation. So I see Prakash focus a lot on the developer side of things. Nalin brought in the enterprise view around how are you going to address the open source related threats and vulnerabilities which get amplified because of AI as well. And code generation is going to be the norm. So it really needs to be addressed really from that point of view. Maybe Dennis, if you can take a view around user-based, your corporate users, your regular users, right? How they are leveraging AI and how can practitioners here look at governance around that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think just to build on what my colleagues just highlighted here, from our vantage point, one of the things that we see consistently as a gap that allows this or possibly could allow is really not, there's a lack of anticipation of AI-based threats within the cyber defense ecosystem, right? Today, if you look at it, many incident response plans, threat models, tabletop exercises that most of our organizations do are still based on older attack types with standard malware and standard phishing. They really don't assume adversaries using AI to leverage these adaptive behaviors that we talked about, right? So definitely, I think, so when we think about how do we address that, one of the key principles is how do we make sure that we leverage AI in the adoption of AI, we focus on, resilience, or, over having a perfect SOC or a perfect cyber defense, right? That just means not having a point in time or a once a year pen testing, things like that, but running continuous simulation, running adaptive threat modeling, bringing in some of these characteristics, right? How do you include AI-driven scenarios? Like, what if a malware could generate a new payload on the fly? How are we going to identify and respond to it, right? What if a ransomware writes its own code? So that way we don't kind of get stuck defending against a fixed playbook that was written years ago, right? So that's one of the main gap, I would say. I think the second and lastly, I would summarize is not really embedding AI into the end-to-end cyber defense posture, right? Now, there are parts and parcels of it, right from the way visibility to all the way to the response, right? Today we see a lot of scenarios where many organizations, they collect either too little data or too much data, and there is this uncertainty in the coverage, right? What we talked about, and that gives attackers an advantage or an edge. Many SOC today still run on human analysts, to triage things manually, right? Given we have more than hundreds of SOC across global customers, one of the principles that we have is we have to fight AI with AI. It's built into our ecosystem, in a sense that we process more than a couple of million maybe alerts every year across our global customers. Humanly, there is no way they can meaningfully handle that sheer volume, right? And just that traditional mindset of first in, first out, are based on some predefined criticality, is not going to help it. So how do you really leverage AI and LLMs to triage, enrich, flag anomalies, and basically bringing down the incident handling in seconds, right? And ensuring that no alerts go unnoticed for a longer period of time. So that's something we are constantly advocating, so that we don't miss the low ends, low ends. And lastly, I would summarize saying that we continuously measuring and this whole journey. If you don't measure, we cannot impact. So we constantly strive to make sure the accuracy of AI decisions and the transparency is continuously measured against a human, right? And how does the deviation look like? And in that process, how do we really build more trust? So, end of the day, as we go through the adoption, we are thinking about how much we can trust in terms of this whole adoption. So that gives SOC a confidence that we are more relevant and we are staying up to date as the threat landscape keep shifting. So in short, we have focusing building a cyber defense resilience, or fighting smart with the AI, and making sure that we continuously measure and govern kind of helps us stay ahead in this uncertainty era.
Excellent. Thank you, Dennis. I think that kind of sums it up pretty well. There is no choice but to leverage AI to beat AI. And in fact, cybersecurity industry as such has been a forerunner in leveraging AI. You see the whole EDR market space evolved essentially based on the AI that they were able to leverage. And likewise in phishing detection, likewise in threat detections across the network. So all of that is being enabled through AI. But yes, absolutely, that's something we have to embrace and see how we can get more of it. I'll just share a little bit piece from our side, from the playbook that we've developed. We've just released what we call our responsible AI framework within the company. And it's an opportunity I am using to have those conversations with each business leader and understand their aspirations around AI, because everybody has them, and then see that we get them caught up with why they need to do this in a responsible manner, and what does it really mean from a user perspective. That means our company's use of AI, and also as a builder perspective, which is what I think a lot of emphasis from Prakash, Dennis, all of you. So we got to address both these segments pretty well, because you don't want to be on the wrong side in leveraging AI. You don't want data to be going out in AI. So that's the, you've got to have some guardrails around your enterprise use of AI. And the second part, the guardrails around you're building and inputting AI into your solutions, right, at a very high level. And if anybody is keen to learn more or discuss more on the framework or what goes into that, I'm happy to take those questions offline. You can connect with me as well. But I think now it's time for the most exciting part. We want to hear from the people who are listening to us very patiently and nicely. Please let us know if you have any questions, any comments, and Ankur is here to facilitate that as well.
Yeah, guys. So please raise your hand and I'll get you to talk. Yes. Satyajit.
Can you folks hear me?
Yes, Satyajit, we can hear you.
Awesome, thank you. I think one of the gentlemen was actually talking about threat modeling. I believe the specific term was adaptive threat modeling. I'm just curious to hear your thoughts about how do you go about doing threat modeling or adaptive threat modeling for AI use cases?
Sure. Any of the panelists want to take it up? Prakash, Dennis?
Yeah, I can take a stab at it. So one of the things that we try to do is using assume compromise scenarios for various different threat. And the example that I talked about, whether it is prompt lock ransomware or lame hug, these are all some variations, but basically the idea of introducing dynamic behavior on the fly, right? So we have created some of the simulation packages, and today happy to suggest certain vendors that we also partner with in the space who actually help build those packaged simulation scripts within your environment, so we can actually test how some of these malware, when it tries to dynamically create some shell commands, right? Or how it brings in reasoning to decide whether to make a C2 traffic or whether to invoke a double extortion, and how does the tool respond to it, right? So that's a kind of a controlled test that we do using some of these simulation. And that happens across different layers, all the way from users, endpoints, networks, applications, cloud, and we try to break it up into different scenarios, leveraging some of these APT-based attribution or also pointed, control-based testing, right? So we have some simulation to test EDR or test your NDR behaviors, or we take the end-to-end APT28 and orchestrate that full course, right? So these are different ways we piecemeal it. But happy to kind of give you some tool sets that we kind of leverage, and open source scripts that we leverage to run those simulation.
Thank you. Just a quick follow-up. I don't want to hog all the time on this. I had set up a threat modeling program in my previous company. I've just recently started a new role at another place. I would be very curious to get more information on the simulations or the approaches or the vendors or solutions that you have experience with, because I'm always striving to get to the next level of threat modeling. There are two elements within threat modeling that I have personally experienced. So one approach is whatever is running in your environment, you try to take the MITRE ATT&CK framework and some of the famous/infamous groups and try to figure out, am I susceptible to something, or am I protected from all these well-known established bad actors, right? Or TTPs. The other approach is actually looking at it from a more of a design stage perspective. Like, for example, some of the use cases that we started originally were very, very much, the low-hanging fruits, the typical one, the creative writing, or for that matter, marketing promos and all that stuff. I used to work in financial credit services business. I think from a design stage perspective, it is more predictable and easier. Rather, it is less predictable and more difficult to handle because we're still trying to unravel or wrap our minds around this whole new era of agentic AI and the godforsaken MCP and all these new terms that are coming up. Essentially, the foundational principles of cybersecurity still apply, but then there is so much of complexity, very similar to what Service Mesh presented us back in the day. So much of complexity that it emerges that some of the folks, some of my threat modeling architects could not even figure out, like, all right, buddy, I'm talking about sensitive data. I'm talking about some identity. I'm talking about some perimeter security. But where do I even get a handle on the mishmash of the interactions? And that presents a massive challenge from a threat modeling perspective.
Absolutely,
So
Satyajit.
yeah,
You're so right. Go ahead, Prakash.
so sorry, Anurana, this is very interesting point what Satyajit brought, right? See, I will tell you one fascinating fact. I was talking to a vendor about, threat modeling and other things, how they are using, leveraging AI. Then behind my, thought process, I was thinking, man, this I have already done without AI. I was not trying to kind of, simplify the fact, but, just like Satyajit said, some of these things we have already started doing right before when LLM was starting to appear. But it's only kind of, with AI usage, we can accelerate it. But, Satyajit, I agree with you. To get a handle on this, it takes a lot of time because you should have foundational things already built into your process, like how you have handle on your infrastructure, application, data flow, what these applications are doing, how are they changing, how often they are changing, what kind of issues have you seen in those applications. I can go on, I can do an offline session on this because I have done this. Like that's why when I saw that AI tool presentation, I was thinking, man, we have already done this. May not be using AI, but the thinking has already started. So
Yeah.
I think it takes a lot of, behind the scene work and foundational cybersecurity work to really achieve what, Dennis was talking about.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
go ahead, Anurana. Sorry, I interrupted.
I've got few more people who basically raised their hands, so I'll just kind of get them in one by one. Thank you, Satyajit. I am now getting in.
Person who asks the first question must get a bonus, of course. So thanks, Satyajit. I think that's
No, I
I've
great.
can
got,
go on and on, but I want to
You
be
set,
respectful for
you
everybody.
set the ball
Thank you.
rolling. Appreciate that.
thank you.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Thank you, Satyajit. Preetham
Hey,
is next.
good morning, folks. Interesting conversation. My question is around how do you integrate or what do you do in terms of your threat intel trying to cater towards your AI-based attacks? Is there a way to even do this or integrate with your threat intel? How do you use your threat intel to identify what are your AI-based attacks?
Yeah, so I think I'll just take a quick stab on how we kind of stumbled onto it, right? Because we are all kind of learning through by doing when things get forced onto us, right? So one, I would think that go back to basics, right? While the label of AI may make it appear that this is going to be something out of the ordinary, and it could be, but if you stick to the basics, you are more or less addressing those things, but being a lot more vigilant to see, okay, whether or not this could be leveraging AI on the bad by the bad actor, or what else could happen with this attack vector, right? So one place I would start is existing tools that you may already have deployed. And for example, we are a Zscaler shop, so we ended up leveraging the visibility that gave us to understand what all AI is being used in the company, right? So the AI, and then we started to map to what is approved out of this and not. So you start to get a handle on the shadow AI portion there, and then you start to see, okay, what are they using it for, and start to get after them. And we'll also leveraged, our vulnerability management solution, which started to pick up vulnerabilities or issues in the LLMs which are being used, which it could detect the LLMs being used. So there would be tools like that are going to emerge, and those are early days, but those are the few places we could start with.
Yeah, and if I may add to it quickly, Anurana, I think it goes back to the the entire life cycle of threat intelligence, absolutely, it's going to be the same. Like Anurana mentioned, the foundation has to be in place. But really understanding the characteristics. I know here initially, we all talked about each characteristics of AI, right? Whether it is automation or efficient data gathering, right? How AI is used for customization, and even there are some LLMs that are specifically used to identify who in your company has the weakest link or the highest privilege, and then zero in on it, right? And this is all attributed to some threat actors. So kind of mapping back to the characteristics of different AI, what matters the most in your context, and then taking it back to those different target threat actor groups, the who behind the why, and then integrating that into your detection engineering or threat model, right? That's the whole life cycle of it. But there is definitely a lot of curated intels that come around different APTs that leverage some of these LLMs, specifically leveraging one of these characteristics, and that will be a good start to go with.
Thank you.
Awesome. Preetham, let me get you to
Preetham just asked his name.
Preetham Sirur.
Yeah.
You got
Hi.
Preetham.
Again, related to this, how many of you have actually started training your staff, your security staff, in using AI or in writing AI agents to potentially help, or you're just depending on vendor products that may work in this space?
So again, it's a bit confidential, right? But anyway, I can say proudly, we are already using AI-based tools, and my team is already leveraging, AWS Bedrock to do a lot of stuff. So I agree, Preetham, lot of times we just talk about things, and maybe we can come to seminars like this, sessions like this, and just talk. But it's a good question to look around and see, dude, are you really using them, or you are just talking? Just because
the reason I say is I'm doing a fellowship myself for 6 months.
Yeah, exactly.
As an AI
So
generalist, that I understand what the subject is before I can push it to someone else.
exactly. So I think, we are really leveraging, and my team is also kind of working on like agent-based SOAR and other things. And we pushed we called something like bot, which will help internal users for security. We pushed it out, so it's being really used for a lot of things internally. I don't want to tell, but yeah, I think we have started practicing it since few months, and it's really paying off very nicely. So it's it's the right time. We should all start using it and seeing the results.
Thank you.
Excellent
Ish-
question, Preetham. I
Ishwara.
think you are really helping us ask the right question of ourselves as well. I think it's important, and just to admit, we are not really leveraging any AI or tooling that we may have developed ourselves currently within the enterprise. But yes, we are encouraging folks to go out there and come back with the right use cases and have deliberations around what is it that it can do. And we do have teams within our group which can do some of those pieces. The only pieces which we may have done more would fall under the automation pieces yet, right? But not as much into leveraging AI. But yeah, next question.
Ishwarya Narayanan.
Yeah. Hey everyone. Yeah, it was a great discussion so far. And I have a question here. We all know that security by design is crucial. But what about privacy by design in the age of like LLM? These models, how we get trained with a massive amount of data. And I would like to know panelist view on this.
Okay. I think the requirement or you can say the importance of privacy by design is no different in AI era, and I would say it becomes a lot more critical because it's all finally about, from an enterprise security perspective, one of the key concern is around your data being used by an LLM, whether is your public LLM or is it going to be an authorized LLM with a tenant which will not let the data go out. That is one aspect of it. And the critical part here is that we are also stepping into new areas like agentic AI, which will have agents doing activities and using this data, using information and insights derived from the data in ways that we may not be able to fully understand as we begin, right? When we start and provide authorizations. Just that's the initial perspective I have. Dennis, Prakash, you want to add to Surya's question?
I think when it comes to, yeah, I agree that the principles remain the same, but what probably stands out would be, the principle of minimizing the data you collect, right? Make sure that you have a complete control over, keep the least data, access the fewest data, and then make sure that the data that is used, and especially in the coming from a managed services world, we get that question asked a lot. The purpose, the decision transparency. So that's something we kind of co-partner with the vendors to make sure that there is really complete transparency and control over some of these decision making for the models. And what kind of data is being used for some of these prompt training as well, right? There is this natural concern of multi-tenant, when I send my data in, or is it going to be leveraged by other customers? So we go through that a lot to make sure, how do we really, split some of these planes architecturally, and manage the training with the least principle, like least data being collected and trained. So those are some of the principles we use. If anything more to add, Prakash?
Yeah, I think Dennis, Anurana, you covered it very well. But I just want to add from my side, being cybersecurity panelist, sometimes we see cybersecurity is not a good driver, but privacy can put your company in big trouble. So, more than I would pay more attention to privacy by design when it comes to AI and LLM than cybersecurity. Because, if you look at, company's priority for any company, they pay more attention to privacy because that can really put company in a big trouble. There could be lawsuits and other things. So I think even when we wrote governance policies, the biggest driver was privacy. More than cybersecurity, we were worried about, privacy impacts of using AI and LLM, like using somebody else's code. And sometimes, down the road, we don't want somebody coming after us saying, hey, your developers are using our code and you pay us billions of dollars, just as an example. So my personal thought is, secure by design is good. It will be followed, but you should really pay attention to privacy by design, especially when you're using AI LLM, because that can put company more trouble than your cybersecurity.
It's an interesting take on indeed, Prakash. I never really gave it thought from that, which one to weigh more, but clearly there's merit in what you're saying. Yeah, Ankur, maybe we can take one last question, or
No, I think we're done with the questions. I was about to say this. Anurana, as a chapter lead, do you want to conclude this? And then I'll take last 1 minute to talk about what's next for us in Structure Catalyst.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, absolutely. So first off, I think we kind of got a reasonably good participation, and I want to thank firstly each one of the people who made time on this Friday morning to spend their valuable time with us. I know each one of you is busy with a lot of critical ambiguity and uncertainty that you're handling at your end. Taking time out is commendable, and we continue to tap on this community to see whether we can create more value opportunities for each one of us to learn as much as I learned in this, as much as there were others who contributed to it. So I really want to thank everybody and look forward to seeing more interactions as we go ahead. Over to you, Ankur.
Thank you, Nara, and thank you, everyone. This is awesome. Like, I'll tell you, today's webinar is one of the highest participated webinar. We got 50 plus registrations. It's impossible to see 50 plus registration coming out of webinar. So this is fantastic. This is the aura which Anurana has to get people in. Anurana, is our chapter lead for SF region, and he also, he basically heads this. And what we have started doing is each time a new chapter, the chapter leads takes over. So, for example, last time, if you see Nitin Rana, who heads our Chicago chapter, led the webinar. This time, Anurana led the webinar. So that's what we're trying to do, and kind of get this cadence in place where we learn and share through webinars and through learnings. One of the interesting things which I want to talk about here in Suraksha Catalyst is on 12th, 13th, 14th November. The dates are kind of, maybe 1 day plus minus, but that's the mid of November. We're trying to visit most of the main cities and visit the chapters and do a big holiday and thank you kind of event. It's near the Thanksgiving, so we're trying to make this annual cadence where we visit and do a big. It will be a very informal, no discussions, no chats, only masti kind of event. So I'll keep all of you posted on how things work out. We're just finalizing some logistics around it. But I want you to block your dates: 12th, 13th, 14th. Mostly it will be 12th in Dallas, 13th in SF, and 14th in New York, New Jersey. But we'll push the calendar soon. Uh, so that's one. And there are a lot of things happening on our portfolio side. You saw Balkan ID joined as a portfolio company 2-3 weeks back. We are about to sign another one very, very soon. Maybe by next week, I'll announce it on the group. So there are a lot of excitement in us to kind of for our next phase of journey. Our first year has been great. We want our second year to be 3 times great. So, with that understanding, I would like to thank all of you. Keep learning, keep sharing your thoughts on the group in these webinars, and let me know if you have any questions on the group one to one. I do try to keep respond to everyone who asks me these questions. But thank you for being part of this awesome community.
Awesome. Thanks, Ankur, for all the leadership and initiative, and to all the people for making time. Have a great
Thank
rest of the day. Thank
Right.
you.
Cheers.